Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar today, introducing Trimble Access 2018. Today's webinar is 1 hour in length, and that includes time at the end for some questions and answers. Everyone is on mute, so if you do have questions you want to submit, please just add them into the questions pane you'll see down the bottom of your screen. Our presenter today is Rob Coote, who is the Product Manager for Trimble Access, and I'll now hand you over to Rob.
Thanks, Felicity. So I've got about a dozen slides that I'm going to go through very quickly, just a little bit of an overview, but I'm going to spend most of my time giving you a bit of a demo. I've got quite a lot to go through, so I may go reasonably quickly, but hopefully you can still follow everything. If we run a little short of time with questions at the end, which is a possibility, depending on how things run, we will look to get those answered and back to you sometime after the webinar. Alrighty, so let's just jump through it. All right, so I'm going to touch very briefly on 2017, but I'm primarily going to talk about 2018, talk about the new user interface, some of the improved workflows, touch a little bit on the hardware and the support in Trimble Access for that. Most of my time is going to be spent doing a demo. I'll also talk a little bit about Trimble Sync Manager, which is the mechanism we're now using for syncing files between the field and the office, and I'll touch a little bit on upgrading from 2017 to 2018 and operating with mixed fleets. So 2017.20 will be releasing with the TSC7 on Monday. And this is your familiar and trusted Trimble Access. Okay, so anyone with existing TSC3s and wants to buy some TSC7s and add to their crews, and they've got mixed fleets, but they all want to be running the same software, can do that by running 2017.20 on the TSC7s. And it's got support for all the normal stuff. So, of course, now the TSC7 is running Windows 10, so we've got SX10 support, we've got a faster processor and all that sort of stuff, so we can do that on the TSC7. We've got a lot of function keys on the TSC7, so we've got some nice support for that. Serenet radio, internal GPS, all that normal stuff. We've now got some gesture support on the controller as well, so you can pan and zoom and things like that much more easily with your fingers on the screen. And we've also got the split screen UI, so you can see the map or video as well as forms on the right-hand side. For anyone wanting to transition from 2017 to 2018, it is fairly straightforward. We've got a relatively simple process to migrate you, and while the UI looks quite different in the new version, there's an awful lot of similarities there, and we'll go through all of that. So why do we do the new Trimble Access design? So we wanted to modernize the interface. So we wanted to, smarten it up, make it look like it was, current sort of software. The old stuff was getting a little bit old. The other thing we wanted to do, of course, was better utilize a much larger screen on the TSC7 and on tablets like the T10 today. We've got some function keys. So we wanted to have some really nice function key support. And we wanted to get a lot better integration between the field and the office. So in the past, the Access Sync service for syncing files was kind of nice, but it didn't have really tight integration between TBC and the field. So we've done a lot of work on that area. And of course, we wanted to make Trimble Access even easier to use. It really was time for a new modern look and feel. And we did a lot of work with UI, UX specialists who helped us with the new design. So it wasn't just a bunch of servers sitting around a table thinking, hey, what would look nice? We actually had some experts involved, and we worked very closely with them to ensure that we had something that looked smart and modern, was easy to use, but still really familiar to our existing customers, to surveyors, and had those workflows that they needed and expected. We did a lot of work with styling, color, layout, navigation to make the software easy to use. We've got the gesture support on the map, which makes it really nice for zooming and panning, just like you do on your smartphones. And that's what we try to do, is make the application work more like your smartphones today. All those things that you're familiar with on your phones, you can now do a lot of that sort of stuff in Trimble Access. So a lot of the main work was around projects and jobs, making it powerful and easy to use to manage your data and for syncing files. General navigation around the software, we wanted to make that as easy as possible as well. So really easy to get around, really easy to get to those favorite screens you use all the time. Nice and easy to set up function keys and all that sort of stuff. With the dual screen layout, we've now got map and video available at the same time as forms, and some really nice tight integration between the two, so they work really, really well together. Kogo, we've done a lot of work in making the map interact with the Kogo forms, so that sort of stuff's nice and simple. And you also have construction information displayed on the map, so you can see progress of what you're doing with those Kogo calcs. We did a lot of work in roading, primarily Trimble roads, around reviewing and editing. So we've made really good use of the larger screen, and other places like Review Job, where we've just made it easy to get to your data and review your data. Couple of quick screen snaps here showing TSC 7 function key support. So when you tap on the little star, you get a choice to make something a favorite or a function or both. And if it's a favorite, it just adds it to the favorite screen. If it's a function, it pops up a form saying, hey, these are all the functions currently assigned. What function key do you want to assign this to? So it's nice and easy. And once something's been set as a favorite or a function, you can actually set on buttons throughout the software. So you learn really easily and quickly which ones you've set up. So that's always there, and helps you just learn how things have been set up. So the software is a lot more map-centric now. So we've got the map, you can see there on the left, and forms on the right. So the map is up most of the time, not all the time, but the majority of the time you can see the map up. You can see points appearing in the map, feature code line work appearing in that sort of stuff while you're measuring. Sync Manager. So Sync Manager is a little geospatial utility that we have created that basically users connect in the background to exchange files, but it's sort of it's an interface between TBC and Trimble Access. So it's getting the data out of TBC into Trimble Sync Manager. You can review it in there, you can add additional things, tweak things, and I'll show you a little bit on that, and then send that data to Trimble Access, do your field work, and then send the data back through Sync Manager. You can create reports in Sync Manager if you want to, or you can export that data back down into TBC. So that's really nice and slick. For those that aren't using TBC, you can run Sync Manager standalone. So you can drop files in there, it creates your jobs and sends them out to the field. So the one big difference with Sync Manager over Access Sync in the past is Access Sync was just syncing files. Once that file turned up on your device, you still needed to go and create a job and link that file. What Sync Manager does now is it's actually, you drop the CSV file or the RXL and all that sort of stuff, you drop those into Sync Manager, it actually creates that job for you based on the properties of TBC. So everything's all set up and it comes through to the data collector and the job's created and it's all ready to go. So it's a lot quicker and a lot simpler. So basically, yeah, all this is just creating a much easier field to office processes. The syncing's a lot easier. There's a lot less configuration in the field. You can assign jobs to people so that the people in the field can more easily find the work that's assigned to them. You don't have to use the assigned properties of it, but you can. You can go and find jobs that aren't assigned to you if you want to. So you can see those things in the cloud as well. So it's all about getting you to work easier and faster. I'm hoping that through making all of this easy, we'll find that our field crews out there today that aren't using terribly sophisticated workflows because it might just be a little bit too hard, might start doing more of these things with DXF files, for example. So some people keep fairly simple processes. We just set out points from CSVs because that's the easiest workflow. But now through all of these improvements here, I'm kind of hoping that people will use DXFs and other files a little bit more to do some of these things. So we've got a modern operating system on the TSC7 and the T10. It's Windows 10. Our design previously was focused around the TSC3 and Windows Mobile, but what we're now doing is we've kind of shifted away from the TSC3, shifted away from Windows Mobile, and really focusing on working with larger screens on a more modern operating system. This will put us in a better position in the future for other devices with different screen orientations, screen sizes, and stuff like that. So 2018 is optimized for Windows 10. It does still support Windows 7, Windows 8, but you do need to look at the minimum specs of any machines running Windows 7 and 8 because those are older computers and they may not actually have the speed we need to run Trimble Access on them. So Huma 2, for example, the Kino, the Motion, they're not supported. They really don't perform very well with the new Trimble Access 2018. One thing with the new version is that we really have moved forwards significantly, and the old platforms and the old operating systems are no longer supported. So we can't put Trimble Access 2018 on those old devices. It simply isn't possible to do that. So There will still be changes in the future to 2017.2021, minor changes as things come up. Anything that's important that needs to happen on that old branch of the software, then there will be changes happening there. But the majority of development from now on will be in the new Trimble Access 2018. Of course, licenses are transferable now, so if you've got TSC2s, TSC3s, other data collectors like that you'd like to retire and move forwards with new controllers, then the Trimble Access licenses can be transferred as long as you have software maintenance agreements. Touch quickly on upgrading from 2017 to 2018. So with every new version of Trimble Access, there are normally format changes to the job files as we add more records, more information. So those files will need to be converted. And when you do an upgrade on a TSC3 today from 2016 to 2017, then the Trimble Installation Manager manages that process of upgrading those files. And that similar kind of process can be used when moving from 2017 to 2018. So if you've got 2017-20 on a T10 or a TSC7, then when you do an upgrade, it will just convert those files into the 2018 version. Now, if you are relinquishing a license on, say, a TSC3, and you want to transfer that data onto a TSC7, then because the TSC3 was upgraded with a desktop computer typically, then the data that was on that TSC3 is backed up to that desktop computer. And to transfer that and install it on a TSC7, because you now need to run the installation manager on the TSC7, what you need to do is copy that data off your desktop PC onto the TSC7, and then you can go through that upgrade process. So that's all supported in the Trimble Installation Manager, and it's relatively simple as well. So as far as running with multiple crews on 2017, 2018, these are sort of my personal opinions here, is that 2017 to 20 runs great on a TSC7. There's no reason you can't do that if you want to. And most companies, when new software comes out, they will usually have one crew test it, put it through its paces, look at the differences in workflows, make sure that they can explain to their guys the little things that have changed so they understand how to pick up and use the new software. So it's always good advice to do that first. But 2018 does offer a lot of improvements. So I've gone through all of them. There's the job management stuff, the data syncing, navigation, favorites, function keys, split screen layout, all those sorts of things make the software a lot easier to use. Interaction between map and forms, and just general usability is a lot better. It's a lot easier to get around the software. It's a lot easier to find the functions and features you want. The main challenge, I think, with running multiple crews would be file version compatibility, but this is really only an issue if you expect to copy a file off a TSC3 and use it on a TSC7, for example, running 2018. So there will be a file conversion issue there, but sharing other files, it's not really a big deal. And the other main difference is really around the data syncing. So in the old Trimble Access, we've got Access Sync, which is just syncing individual files, versus Trimble Sync Manager, which is doing projects and jobs. So the process there is quite different, but both work. There's no reason why you can't use both if you've got mixed fleets. And a lot of people aren't using Access Sync today anyway. They're just using Dropbox and email and all those other sorts of things for getting files across USB sticks. So you can use all that. So that's not really a major hurdle either. The migration from 2017 to 2018 is really easy. So you'll see as I get into my demo next that there's an awful lot of similarity there. We've changed the front end UI primarily around projects and jobs, and a few other bits and pieces have moved around, but the underlying systems are all exactly the same. So most of the engineering development work was really around the UI layer. The underlying computation engines and all that stuff is exactly the same and under the hood. So yeah, moving from 2017 to 2018 is really quite easy. For those of us in testing that have been working with 2018 a lot over the last year through development, whenever we have to go and grab a 2017 controller and have a bit of a play around with it, we always get a little bit disappointed because it's just a little bit harder to use. We're really getting quite used to the new 2018 interface, and we do really like it. So let's just switch to our demo now. And I'm going to go through this reasonably quickly, and I'm really sort of trying to highlight the main changes in the new version of Trimble Access. I'm not going to go into all the details of how to use the software, but I'm going to touch on all the high points, all the main changes. Alrighty, so what I'd like to do now is show you Trimble Access, the new Trimble Access 2018. But what I'm actually going to start with is a little bit of a demo using TBC, which is not the way I normally start my Trimble Access demos, but I want to show you the new Trimble Sync functionality. So here I've got a project in TBC, and what I want to do is I want to send some data from here to the field, to Trimble Access. So I can select whatever points, lines, entities I want to send, and up here we've got Trimble Sync. So when I run Trimble Sync, it opens up this window on the right hand side, and this is now showing me the entities that I've selected over here. So I've selected a total of 378 items, 283 are points, and I can choose to send those to Trimble Access either as a DXF, CSV are actually embedded in the job. So if they're control points, you might want to put them in the job. If they're stakeout points, you might want to put them in the CSV. And I've also got some line work selected here. Now, if I don't actually want that line work, I just want to send the CSV, then I can actually click on delete there. And now I've only selected those CSV points. But let's go back and just pick everything. And let's give it a bit of a name. Let's just call it test demo, and we'll add this selection set to go to the field. Okay, now I could do multiple selection sets, multiple points for different tasks, and group them all up and send them all through, but we'll just do this one for now. So when we hit send, it's going to send that through to Trimble Sync Manager, and Trimble Sync Manager's running here. I'm in a project called Sharbian Subdivision, and it's saying, hey, I've got some data from TBC, would you like me to apply this? And it's showing me that I've got a feature code library associated with that project in TBC, so it's automatically going to link that to the job that's created via Trimble Sync Manager. It's got a CSV file and a DXF file. So when I hit apply, it's then creating a job here. And let's just give this a nice distinctive name. We'll just call it demo. We can give it an assignee. So let's make myself the assignee. And we can see that the CSV DXF file are linked here, ready to use. We've got a feature code library that's set up there as well. All of our coordinate system parameters have been populated from TBC, so they're all set up and ready to go as well. And now when I hit create, it's going to create those files and get them up into the cloud and ready for Trimble Access to download. So let's just give that a second or two. It's setting up all those files, and what it's doing here is it's not just sending a CSV file and a DXF file. What it's actually done is it's creating a job for the field. So in the past, with the old Trimble Access 2017, when you sent a file via Access Sync, you just end up with a file on that device, and what you would then have to do is go and create a job and link that file and get it all set up that way. But now with the new Trimble Access, what we're doing is that job will turn up on the data collector with everything linked to it, all ready to go. So here we can see now 3 jobs. So these are 2 that I've previously used. You can see one here says field work completed, one of them still work in progress, and this is the new one I've just created. So now let's switch to Trimble Access. And we're in the project screen of Trimble Access. So if we open up the Sharbian subdivision, now we can see some properties on the right here, and we can see the 2 jobs I talked about that were already existing and this one called demo. So if we open up, we will see again, we've got a green tick, field work completed. This one's work in progress assigned to me, and this is the new demo job. And we can see that those 2 files that we just created are attached to that job. And now when we hit download, it's now going to get that job from the cloud and bring me into the map. So you will see if we switch back to TBC, that we've pretty much got a very similar image here. So all that data has now been sent to Trimble Access. So that's basically showing the very basic elements of TBC and Trimble Sync Manager and how you can send data from the office to the field. Later on, I'll show you that workflow going backwards, going back from Trimble Access into TBC. But for now, I want to just show you some of the basics about Trimble Access and the rearranged UI and how it all fits together and how it all works. So I started off in the project screen, so I think we should start talking about the project screen first, because this is sort of the starting point of Trimble Access 2018, and this is where a lot of the work has gone into it. So we're now organizing our data more into project folders. And a project is really just a folder, but it has got all those related job files all together. So your control files and your DXF files and all that sort of stuff for one particular project. If you store it all within one project, it's a lot easier to use, a lot cleaner and a lot simpler. You can see all the jobs associated with it. We've made this UI nice and rich and quite powerful. So as you click on things here, you will see images about the job and about the project. and about the jobs within that project. And as you browse down, you'll see some of the projects have got additional information. So we've got a description here called New Road Set Out under this project. We've got reference information, location. We can see there are 3 jobs in here. As we browse down, the parameters here on the right-hand side change depending on what we've got selected. Some of them have no jobs. So the idea here is that you can get a quick overview of a project before you actually have to open the project, before you have to open any jobs. So it makes it a lot easier to work out which folder you want to work with. So we've got some controls up the top here that I should talk about as well. So let's first look at filter. So if I know I have a project and I can't quite remember its name, but I know that the name's got TNZ in it, then I can type in TNZ and it will filter that list to only show the ones with TNZ in it. Nice and simple. We've got some simple sort controls here, so we can change between name and last used, and we can sort ascending or descending. We've got a filter key here. So filter enables us to see just the jobs on the controller or the jobs just on the cloud or on both the cloud and the controller. When you've got a filter applied, we color it yellow just to give you a visual clue that, hey, a filter has been applied. And if you can't find something, it could be because you filtered it off. Let's switch that on. Up here is our Connect status. So we are logged in to Trimble Connect. And when we're logged in, this icon is colored and we'll have a refresh icon. So at any time we can push refresh and do a refresh here. Now, so that's basically projects. If you want to create a new project, it's basically creating a new folder, hit new, and it will go through here and you give it a name, description, reference, location, and assign an image. Very simple stuff. Now, once we go into a project, we'll click open. Now you can either hit open to open a project. Single taps do not open jobs or projects. They move around and update the parameters on the right-hand side. If you want to open something, you double click on it, hit open on the bottom right-hand corner. So we've got similar information and similar controls in here. So we've got the filter, we've got the same sorting controls. We've got cloud icons down here. So what these icons are telling us is that Birmingham Car Park has got some data to go up. The control file here is all in sync. We've got a tick, everyone's happy on that one there. We've got some more filter controls in here as well. So again, you've just got cloud or controller like we had under projects, but what you also have is an option to only show files from the cloud that are assigned to me. So you don't have to use the assignee feature, but if you do, it's really quite powerful because large organizations with a lot of crews, they can be a crew manager in the office setting up all the data and assigning specific projects and jobs to specific field crews, and they can come in here and say, hey, only show me the job files that are assigned to me, and they'll see just the ones that are assigned to them. So if I switch off that one and switch off that one and switch off that one, then I'll see just these 2 that are assigned to me. But we can go and switch them all back on again. Status completed, that one there is kind of nice in that jobs that have been completed can be hidden. So you'll see here, this one with the big green tick, this job is finished. And if I don't want to see those jobs that have been completed, I want to get them out of my view, then I can just hide them. And anytime you can bring them back. So that's just really cool. Again, you'll see your linked files on the right-hand side here. So I can see that this job has got a CSV and a DXF file linked. And this is just another visual clue to help you pick the jobs you're after. So in the past, a lot of people used to say, hey, look, sometimes I can't determine which job I need to work on right now based on the name alone. Sometimes I've got to open up the file and work out which files are linked to it. So you no longer need to go through that process of doing that. You can actually see at a glance which files you might want here. When we're in here and we hit new, we're just basically going to create a new job, much like you did in the old Trimble Access, and we can show you that here. So when you click new, you will recognize all of these fields are very, very similar to what you've had in the past with new jobs. Nothing has changed in here too much, apart from one little thing. You can create jobs from templates, and it could be the last used job or a template that you've created previously. But we also have an option here to create from job XML or DC files. So this option to create jobs from job XMLs or DC files has always been in Trimble Access, but it's been hidden under import. You used to go into import and say import a job via job XML or DC, but what it was basically doing was creating a job from a job XML or DC file. So those people that are using perhaps third-party Office software that are exporting data in either of these two formats now have a nice, easy process for creating new jobs directly from those files with this UI without having to go into import export. So let's bounce out of here. Now there's a lot of additional controls along the bottom. So the old job menu that was in the old Trimble Access has changed quite a bit, and we've moved a lot of the functionality down here. So properties is just properties, and it's the same sort of stuff you see when you create a new job. It's all the same information. Import export. So we used to have a number of import and export options. We used to have import fixed formats and custom ASCII, and we used to have export fixed formats and custom ASCII. And what we've done is we've merged those together so that we've just got one import option and one export option. And all the choices you get are in under here. So it's all together in the one place. There's no more complexity around now. I don't need a fixed format or a custom format. Apart from that, the functionality is much the same. We've just merged it all into one place. Import is more or less the same. Send and receive functionality also used to be located in the old Trimble Access in a similar place here. Now that was functionality that people these days generally do not use a lot at all. So we've actually removed that functionality. So the old send data to an SDR33 data collector type functionality is no longer supported. All right, so all the copy stuff has now been merged into one location. So we used to have 3 items in the menu for copy. We had copy job files to, and it could be a USB stick or another folder, copy job files from, same sort of thing, as well as copy between jobs. What we've done is merged all these 3 into one form so that you can basically open the screen and go, now which of those copy functions do I want? Okay, no, it's not that one, it's not that one, it's this one, right? Okay, excellent. And away you go. In the past, you sometimes had to jump in and out of the menus to get down to the one you wanted if you weren't quite sure. This screen will remember your last use, so when you come back in here, if you only ever use copy between jobs, then this will be the one that's always up. So that really very, very quickly covers projects and jobs. Now, you don't have to put all your jobs into specific project folders if you don't want to. If you want to put all of your work into one folder or into a couple of folders, you can certainly do that. There's nothing to stop you from doing that. But if you like to organize your data a little bit better, keep your control files and CSV files and DXF files for one specific project altogether, then project folders are a really nice way to do that. That sort of covers projects and jobs. One little thing I should show you is this button up in the top right hand side. So up here we have the ability to delete jobs or upload and download. Now you won't typically use the upload and download feature up in the right hand kebab menu up here very, very often, because what you will normally do is you'll come and you go, okay, so this job here called Birmingham Car Park, I've actually finished with that job. So what I'll do is I'll change my progress to my status to fieldwork complete. And when I do that, it will automatically upload that job back to the cloud. So you don't need to go up in here and select upload download. That will happen more or less automatically if you mark your status fieldwork completed. Now, if partway through a job you want to go and do some syncing on that job, by all means, and you can come up here and say upload, upload, upload. You can do that as often as you want. But normally it'll be actioned off that. And as you saw earlier, when there's a new job coming down, you'll have download on the bottom right hand side. So normally it'll be download on the bottom right, open a new job that's come down from the cloud. When you're finished with that job, you just say fieldwork completed and it'll send it back to the cloud. Now you can go and change those statuses back and things like that. We don't stop you from doing that. So if you accidentally mark something as fieldwork completed, there's nothing to stop you actually going back and changing that status and working on it again. Now, when you do mark that completed, then a message will go back through to Sync Manager, and the person in the office will get a notification that, hey, this job is completed, and they can start doing some office processing on it. All right, I think we've covered most things under projects and jobs. Let's just open that one. And let's go and talk a little bit about the menu. So When we click on the main menu button in the top left, or also on the TSC7 controller, it's also known as the burger button colloquially, what happens there is we open up the screen here, and down the left-hand side, you will see your regular old menu, and you will see the menu system for general survey is hidden under general survey. You'll see instrument, settings, help, about, and if you scroll, you'll see exit off the bottom. So there's a lot of information going on in here, but the first thing at the very top is your project. So you can see the project you're in, and you can see the job that is currently running. Favorites is the next one down, and this is one of the most important ones in here. And you'll notice that when I open the screen, favorites is actually opened automatically for me, and what it's showing in the middle is all the favorites that I've already pre-configured. So I've set up review job, point manager, key and note. All of these have been favorites that I've created manually. Now this return to list down the right hand side is just like the old switch to in the old Trimble Access. So all the open windows will be listed down the right hand side here. Now, if I want to go and do anything, then the easiest way generally to navigate around the software is to hit the burger button. It will open up this screen, and then I can just either click directly on the screen to go to measure codes or stakeout, or I can actually use the little shortcut numbers in the top right hand corner, and those are my shortcut keys. So if I press 1 now, it will go to review job. So it's jumped straight into review job. So that is how quick it is to navigate around the software. Very, very quick. Now you can navigate this with the keyboard too, so I can use the arrow keys to jump around in here, navigate around. If I want to go back out of favorites, then I go to the left, and then I can arrow down through these menus here. So I can arrow around. But the one little thing to remember is that because it always opens in favorites, if you start using the keyboard, you can't directly do the arrow down and go down through the menu. You've actually got to jump over to the left and go down. So that's one little thing to be aware of. But what we want people to do is really use favorites. So we've made favorites the focal point of the screen. Little pencil icon up here will let you do some very basic editing on favorites. So here we can see the favorites that have been created. I can delete all of those. I can delete them one by one, and I can go back to a set of defaults. We don't have the ability to sort and order favorites yet, but that's something we will do in the future. All right. Let's just have a little look at job data. So I talked a little bit about all of the job functionality that you can do on the job screen now. So those things that used to be under the jobs button inside the old 2017 Trimble Access, a lot of that's moved into the job screen, but there are still a few things in under here. So we've got review job, we've got point manager shortcuts, we've got good old QC graph. Map, don't really expect many people to need to use the map from here anymore because most of the software is running in the map screen anyway as it is now. And File Explorer is just a shortcut to File Explorer, so it'll just open up File Explorer on the controller. One little tip for you is Windows 10 has some cool features such as pin to quick access. So what you can do is you can click on any particular folder and go pin to quick access. And if you do that, then what happens is it gets pinned in this list here. So I've got Trimble data pinned to my quick access. So I can open up Explorer on the computer at any time using Windows E, for example, as a keyboard shortcut. And then to get to my data folders, I can just use my pin to quick access. One other quite cool thing that I really like to do is on the bottom here, you'll see on your taskbar, you can actually pin things to your taskbar as well. So I've got the Trimble Access shortcut pinned to my taskbar. I can unpin it and then pin it again. But this is a really, really cool way to always get access to Trimble Access while it's running on the device, either to start it or to actually run it. So there's a couple of quick tips. One other little thing is that the data is all stored under program data. So it's program data, and by default, Windows often hides that. So if you go to the View tab here and click on Hidden Items, then you can see those folders. So that's just the way Windows likes your data to be stored here, and by default, it does hide that stuff. So you just need to know those two little things to get in and access your data. While I'm talking about that, a couple of other differences here to the old 2017 Trimble Access is that in the past, when you started the application, you had to basically log in as a user. And what that would do is it would create a folder on the device with your username. And if you had multiple users on that device, sometimes everyone would create their own login and all the data would be stored under their username, which made sharing information rather difficult. Or sometimes they just reuse someone else's login, which is what most people were typically doing. So what we've now done is we've got away from that concept of having a username folder, and all of our data is actually stored into a projects folder under Trimble data. So these are all the project names that you will see inside Trimble Access, and they're really just folders, and if you open them up, then you'll see jobs and other files within them. And the other little difference there is that when you created that folder in Trimble Access 2017, you were also asked whether you wanted to work online or offline. And if you wanted to do Access Sync type functionality, syncing files, then you would work online. With the new Trimble Access, basically all of that is controlled from within the jobs and project screen. So if I want to work online, I simply log in to connect. So I can sign out at any time. And now you will see this icon's gone. I will no longer see any of my projects or jobs that are purely in the cloud. I only see the files that are on the controller, but at any time I can log in and I can and if I always want to stay logged in, it's typically how I work, then I can stay logged in. Okay, so it's as easy as that. So when I shut down Trimble Access, restart Trimble Access, it will say, hey, I was logged in last time, we'll log in again. So there's no complexity around switching out to Access Sync and firing up Access Sync and logging in there and then leaving that open and switching back. Basically, if you want to be online, log in online, you can refresh it at any time to pick up new files that are put into the cloud. So this stuff's really, really simple, and it just works really nicely with everything coming down already linked up. I haven't talked much about multiple applications. So we used to have the Trimble Access Launcher, and that was where you would fire up other applications. It's also where you would get to settings and survey styles and all that sort of stuff. We no longer have the launcher, so when you start Trimble Access, it basically starts inside the project screen. It asks you to pick a project, pick a job, and away you go. If you want to switch applications, then you can do that by clicking either on the icon here for General Survey, or you will also see in the top here, we've got an icon now showing roads because I'm in roads, but I can switch back to General Survey. And it's easy as that to switch between applications. The menu will change depending on the current application. So if I've got roads, it'll show the roads menu. If I've got General Survey, then it will show the General Survey menu. Now the software remembers the last used application. So if 95% of the time you run roads, then every time you start up Trimble Access, it will start up in roads. But again, switching to any other application is only 2 clicks away. Very, very simple. Instruments and settings have been promoted a little bit here. So instrument was something that you could generally get to under General Survey, but not roads. But now it's available for all applications. And this is again just the same old instrument settings that you've seen in the past. Nothing's too much has changed in under here. Settings is something you used to get to from the old launcher. So now we've integrated that into the main application, so it's a lot easier to get to. So again, if you want to tweak any of your survey styles, then you can just get to those very simply from there. Everything under these menus is pretty much the same as it always has been. Not too much has changed there. Help. So help's had a major rewrite, and it's just fired up. So we've made the help a lot easier to use. So we've redesigned the help from the ground up, and it's now chiefly a fully integrated help system. It's got intuitive text search capabilities and easy to use navigation between topics. So really, really easy. You can just search for stuff up here, and we've got browsing ability down through the topics here, and we've got expandable sections as well. So you can read a topic, and if you finish reading that topic, you can close that and you can browse to another topic. So the help on the data collector looks just like this. It is also available from the web, so anyone can access the help from the web, and it looks exactly the same as well. Searching's really quick and easy, and also copying information out of here. So in the past, if you wanted to copy something out of a PDF, you could highlight things, and when you went copy and paste, a lot of the formatting would get messed up in that process. But here, all this formatting is going to be remembered. So taking information to share some stuff with someone who's having trouble, or creating your own cheat sheets, that sort of stuff is going to be a lot easier with the new help. Jumping back here, I will jump into review, and I want to show you something about scroll bars. So as I move around in here, and let's just jump back to general survey, what you will see is that there's no exit button. So exit is actually off the bottom here. And if you see me moving my mouse, then you'll see a little fine scroll bar appearing. And this is like on your cell phone. So often in your cell phone, you will see a scroll bar appear briefly to indicate that there is scrolling available and to swipe with your finger to scroll, but it doesn't leave that scroll bar up. So we've got two types of scroll bars in Trimble Access now. We've got this little fine one that is just a clue that, hey, there's some scrolling to be done. But we also have a bigger scroll bar. So in places where there's a lot of data to move, review job, point manager, things like that, then you actually have a much bigger scroll bar. You can click to jump to specific places, or you can grab it and move. But in other places, we have a very fine scroll bar. So here on the right, you can see a very, very small, right down the far right-hand side, a very, very small scroll bar. So just wanted to highlight there are two different scroll bars, and use your finger to swipe. You can use the arrow keys to move up and down, all that sort of stuff as well. Most of the functionality in here is very similar to what it used to be before. So we can expand on these things. We can click to get more information down the right-hand side. So one other thing we've done here is we've made review job split screen. So we can see bulk of the information down the left-hand side, but we can click on any record at any time, and we can see information about that point, and we can scroll on this side too. So getting around and looking at jobs is going to be a lot easier in here now. So with the 2017 Trimble Access, there used to be a lot of in and out. You'd click on something, it would open up another screen, and you'd close that screen down, and you scroll down a bit, and you click on something else, it would open it. Now you can basically click around here and review points and coordinates and stuff like that, and other records much, much easier. Let's just jump to Point Manager. So Point Manager, we're utilizing the full wider screen here because we looked at doing the split screen as in that previous review job screen, but what we really want to do is maximize the width here. So when we click on something in here, we can go details and we can see more information about it. So those are the two ways you can basically review your data. All right, so I think we've covered most of the basics with the menu system. Let's have a little look at the toolbar along the top. So I've already talked about switching applications with that first icon. It shows you a current application. This is General Survey. Second one along, we've got current time and date. And then we've got batteries. So we've got our controller batteries and our instrument batteries. And if we're running on a TSC7, then the TSC7 does actually have two batteries in the back, which will actually show an icon for each battery and the combined power of both those. You can actually see how one of your battery levels is going down and which battery you need to change. Next icon along is just the same old stuff that we've always had. So we've got our instrument icon. And we can click to that to get to instrument functions. Now, instrument functions is very, very similar to before. We've smartened up the icons a little bit, but what we've also got is controls to set up our favorites and function keys, and that is the star in the top left-hand corner. On the top right-hand corner is, again, the shortcuts that you saw on favorites. So I can press 1 to get shortcuts here. I can arrow around the form, or I can just use my finger on the screen. Let's look at setting up some favorites. So we can see on auto lock that F5 has been configured as a favorite. We can see on search that F6 has been configured as well as a function shortkey, sorry. If we want to do change face, let's configure that. So when we go and configure either favorites or functions, we've got a few choices. So we can make it just a favorite, just a function, or we can do both. So if we make that a favorite, it's now a favorite, it's yellow, right? So if I escape out of here and go into my favorites list, I can now see change face as a favorite. Let's go back in. If we want to clear that, then we can just go none. If I want to change search, so that it's both a favorite and a function. Then I can say I want to do both. And now it's going to say, okay, so tell me which function key do you want to utilize? So on the TSC7, we've got 6 physical function keys and a shifted 6 on those as well. So I can say, hey, I want that to go on F9. So search is now on F9. And I also made it a favorite. So it's here under favorites as well. So really quick and easy way of setting up functions and favorites. And if you look at any of the forms within the system, so let's go to key in line. I can do the same thing here. So most forms will also have a star on them. So I can go, hey, I want key in line to be a favorite because I use that all the time. Please make that a favorite now. And here, key in line is there. I can get to key in line very quickly and very easily. It's always just two short taps away. We can create as many favorites as we want, and the screen will just scroll up. You will only ever get a maximum of these 3x4 12 keyboard shortcuts. So once you go further down, then you don't have keyboard shortcuts for them, but you have got those 12. So that's nice and quick and easy to use the keyboard to navigate to things. And again, you'll see your return to here. Now that I've got key in line open, I can jump back to key in line that way as well. So you've got multiple ways to navigate around the system. All right, so the next button along the top toolbar there is the targets button, and I can click on that and I can see the targets that have been set up so far. So I've got 6 targets plus my DR target set up. I can see the shortcuts in the top right hand corner. Keyboard shortcuts, DR is always shortcut 0 because it can move around. You can only have 1 DR target, but you can have numerous other targets in here. And we're showing a pretty icon for each of the particular targets. So you can see at a glance which target is you're using. You can give them your own names if you want to. So these are all pre-configured names. And you can see information about the targets. You can see the prism constant. You can see this one's got a target ID set to 1. And you can see your target height. So there's two main workflows that you might use in here. The first one is just switching from one target to another. So I can switch from target 3 to target 6 by just clicking on it. Now we're in target 6. We can switch back to target 3. Now we're in target 3. I could use a keyboard shortcut, so I could hit 5 on my keyboard, and now I've jumped to target 5. So that's all very, very quick and easy. If you want to edit a target height, then you can just tap directly in the target height field, and you can change that value too. So that's very, very easy too. So the predominant workflow is either switching targets or editing target heights. If you want to do anything else, then you have the edit button, and we can go and we can click on something and we can edit it and change the appropriate things in here, like target IDs and prism constants for the targets that will let you. So if we go to one of the custom ones, so I can either do a tap and hold. So now I could change the prism constant on this and edit that, and now we're using this custom target with prism constant 30 mils. So that's your main workflow there. So we've made the buttons a lot bigger, we've put a lot more information on them, we've put pretty pictures of the targets, you can more easily identify them. And you can also make this favorite if you want to, but I'm not sure that would make sense for most people because it's only one click away anyway, but you can do that if you want to make it a function key or a favorite. So that's targets. Next thing along is our status line. So you'll see things have been rearranged a little bit here. So what we've actually done is we've consolidated this target, the status bar and the status line, into one area. Okay, so we've brought similar sorts of information all together to make the software a little bit easier to use. You can click on the status line as you always have been to be able to switch between devices. So I happen to have an SX10 connected as well as GPS. And when I switch to GPS, then I can switch to my GNSS functions. So same sort of deal as with Total Station. We've got favorites advertised in the top left-hand corner, the ones that have been set up. We can see, function keys and favorites, and we can create more if we want to. What else do we need to cover in here? I think I've covered most of that. One other little thing is that all our favorites and function keys are stored in the config file, like they have been in the past. One other subtle difference there is that we used to have multiple users on data collectors, as I talked about earlier. You'd have different multiple user ID logins on the device, and we would have different config files for each one. And that was of some value to some people, but more of a hindrance to others. And the problem there was that a lot of companies with multiple crews like to set up all the devices to be set up in a very similar way. And by having multiple config files on the device, it actually made it quite difficult to do that. So what we've now done is we've gone back to having just one config file. So if Fred shares his data collector with Bob, then when Bob picks it up, it's going to be set up the same way as it was with Fred. And it doesn't matter which data collector you're using around the company, as long as they're all set up the same way with a similar config file, then they'll all operate the same way. They'll all have the same favorites, and it'll be easier for everyone to use, basically. You can modify those at any time, but that's a nice way to get it set up. Easy to use. Alrighty, let's go and look at the map a little bit. Now, for anyone familiar with using Trimble Access on a tablet already, you will see that the map is the map that it is very similar to the map that we had in 2017-20 on tablets. And we have a toolbar down the left-hand side here. Now, for TSC3 customers, there is a bit of a change because we used to have tools along the bottom, but those are gone now because a lot of the time we will have a form up. So it could be measure points. No, let's not do that just yet. Let's go to key and line. So you could have a form up here, and you'll have soft keys along the bottom that actually tie to the form. So the map soft keys have all basically been built into here. So we've got the standard old tools, zoom in, zoom out, all that stuff that we've always had. And you can lock down a button like that, and you can do multiple zooms and things like that. Or you can zoom out. This is all more or less the same sort of stuff. Zoom extents. You can also use your fingers. So now I've got two fingers on my touch screen, and you can see the little grey blobs moving in and out, and so I can pan and zoom and all that stuff all in one fell swoop, which is really quite cool. If you've got 3D data to look at, I'll show you that in a different job, but you can click on the rotate option here. Most of your settings are in under here. So if you click on the eyeball icon, you'll get to settings, and this is all the stuff that we've had for a long time. And under settings, if you've got scan information, you can see your scans. If you've been using an SX10, you've got your filter controls in here. And this is your pan to functionality. Now, on tablets in the past, the layers control used to be hidden under show, and it was a little bit hard to get to, so we want to make that easy to get to. So as far as controlling DXF files, CSVs and stuff displayed in the map, they are now just a single click away. So you want to see that one, just 2 clicks switches it on. And that stuff's really, really easy too. If you've got a SX10 and video, then you can click on the video icon here. So moving around is very easy. So I'm in a very small meeting room right now, but so jumping between video and map is very, very simple. For those familiar with the map on the tablet in the past, there used to be a 2D map and a 3D map. And the 2D map was the traditional map that we had on TSC3s. The 3D map is this map here where you can do cool 3D stuff. So with 2018, we no longer need the 2D map. It's just 3D map. All right, I think I've almost covered most of the core functionality. So I'd like to show you some other stuff in a minute, just looking at a variety of jobs and looking a little bit more into COGO compute point and traverse adjustments and roads and stuff like that. One other little thing I'll mention just before I move on is that with 2017 on the tablet, we used to let you configure how the screen was split. You could either maximize the map or maximize the form or have it split like this. What we've done with 2018 is we've simplified that a little bit. So we've got a bigger screen now, and we're making better use of the screen on the TC7 and on T10s. And we found that users didn't really need to mess around with the set out with the split screen stuff. So what we've done is pretty much fix it to be more or less 2/3 on the left, 1/3 on the right. Now, some people have commented that, hey, when I'm doing scanning on an SX10 and I'm framing, I really want to maximize that video view because I want to see as much as possible. It makes it easier if I can see more. Now, I did some comparisons a while back to see whether we'd really lost much real estate on there, and we haven't, because with the video on, say, a tablet, what was happening is we weren't utilizing the whole screen. We had these black bands down the right-hand side because the video frame didn't fill the screen on the UMAs. And what we've done now is we've got rid of those black bands and we've slid it over to the left-hand side. So the field of view from this edge here to this edge here is pretty much identical on a TSC7 with 2018 as it was on a UMA. The one little thing you do miss out on is that this toolbar is basically sitting over a little bit of your video view. So the only thing you're really missing out on is this little bit of the view that is obscured with the toolbar, but otherwise it's very, very much the same. Except that, of course, it's a lot easier to use because you've got your form up on the right-hand side at the same time as you've got your map or video on the left. So it's much nicer and easier to use. All right, so let's have a little bit of a play and look at a few different features. So let's jump to another job just quickly. Let's jump into Braintree. We've got a nice pretty DXF in here. And I'm going to use my fingers to zoom in a little bit more. And let's pan across like that. So now let's do some COGO. So let's look at COGO, compute point, and we'll do a distance intersection. So we've done a lot of work to improve the interaction between the map and the form on the right. So if I click in a point name field and I then go and pick a point, it's filled in that point name field automatically. It's moved me to the next field and it's highlighted that point to show that that's the one I selected, so that's the one in yellow. So let's do a distance intersection between 2 points, and let's pick 5 meters for the first point, and let's pick the next point and go 4 meters. And so very, very quickly what I've done is I've picked 2 points, entered a 5 meter and a 4 meter distance, and it's now displaying 2 circles. And when I go to calculate that result, it's going to say, hey, we can either create an intersection point here, or I can hit other, or we create an intersection point here. And we can see the coordinates on the right-hand side. So you see those coordinates change as I flick between the 2 points. So we're getting some construction work to help us decide which point it is we want to create. And once we make the decision which one we want, we can hit store, and it's now stored that point. So that's showing the power of having the map up at the same time and seeing the form on the right-hand side and getting some nice interaction between those two. So in the past with Trimble Access 2017, this would have been an awful lot more complicated and not nearly as straightforward. So we've made this nice and simple. So that's COGO stuff, and we've done this sort of functionality through all of the COGO features. So you'll see this sort of stuff appearing in a lot of places. You'll see construction lines a lot more. If we jump to our Travis job, I can show you Travis adjustment. And this is quite cool too. So we're switching jobs. We just need to close that other window. So let's go into COGO. Travis. And let's just give it a name. And let's pick a start station. So let's pick, okay, we don't have a start station there. Let's pick that one, okay. So now what we're doing is we're gonna start on peg 5 and we're gonna add another station. And what it's saying here is that there's 2 other stations to add. Which one do you want? Now I can either pick them out of the list or I can manually pick them off the map. So let's say we want to go to IS8. So we click on IS8 and we go accept that and go add. And now from IS8, it's saying, hey, we've got 3 other places, 3 other station setups. Which one do you want to go to? So let's go to peg 6 and add that. From peg 6, it's saying, hey, we can go to IS3. Let's add that. IS3, it's saying, hey, we can go down to peg 5. And now we get a close option at the bottom. So the Travis routine is exactly the same as the old Travis routine. Nothing's changed behind the scenes. All the functionality, all the business logic, all the calculations are identical in 2018 as 2017. But what we've done is we've got some improved UI over the top. So now picking the Travis legs that you want to adjust is a lot easier, and it's more graphical, so you get a better indication of what's going on. So now we can hit close, and we can adjust the way we're doing our close if we want to. We can accept those defaults. And now what it's doing is showing us here is our close results. So we started on peg 5, we ended on peg 5. This was our angular close. Distance close was 4 mils. we had 3 mils in northing easting and 2 in elevation, and that was our traverse length. So now we can go ahead and adjust the angle if we want to, and we can adjust the distance, and our traverse has been adjusted and stored. So that's how easy it is to do traverse adjustment. And again, that's just showing you the visualization of how all this interaction between the map and the form on the right-hand side works. But I think that's basically most of what I wanted to show right now, but I'm definitely open up for questions if anybody has some questions, and we do actually have quite a few that have come through, so we will look at answering those next. Okay, so that completes the demo. We had a bunch of questions come in, and we've been answering those as we've been going along. What I will do is just touch on a couple of questions that might be common questions that I can that a wider population might be interested in. So there was one around, is accessing a Trimble Sync Manager using the same login credentials. So Trimble Sync Manager is using Trimble Connect in the back end. So with Access Sync, you can use TCC or Connect, but you need Trimble Connect credentials, and there is a lot more information that we do need to share about Trimble Sync Manager and Trimble Connect and the credentials and stuff. So we do need to organize a Sync Manager in the near future to go into this in a lot more detail. So we need to set that up and let people know. See, that's another good question in here. So as far as job compatibility and stuff goes, you know, people have been running mixed versions in the field today between 2016, 2017, 2013, you know, whatever version it is. There's been the same job version and compatibility issues, and there's ways to get around that by exporting CSVs or job XML. So all of those options are still available between 2017 and 2018. So, you know, 2018 is the next version of 2017. It's very similar in respect to file compatibility as any other version as far as upgrades and stuff go. So you know, it's not completely new software. It is really just a new front end. One thing I didn't cover is around functionality that was in the TSC3 version 2017 that isn't in 2018, and most functionality is still there. There's a few things, you know, that were very infrequently used that we've removed. So send and receive files and stuff like that. We've got support for, you know, most of your more modern totalizations and instruments, but some of the old ones, the Zeiss Altas, 3600s, 5600s, the geometer. So we have dropped support for some of those older ones, but the majority are still there. So some of the other questions were around Sync Manager and assignees and the cloud and stuff. So you can have multiple assignees in a job, which means it'll appear assigned to them on the data collector in the field. And what I wouldn't recommend is two people downloading the same job and working on it at the same time. So those jobs will go back into the cloud, into Connect. And what Connect does in those situations is it's got history on files being synced back. So if one person synced back one file, that would go back into the cloud, and if another crew was working on that same file at the same time, storing different data in that same file, then it'll get synced back to Connect as well, and the last synced file will basically appear up there. So there is history in Connect. You can get back to those other versions, but we're not merging data from two different files into one. You know, that is nearly impossible to do because you just don't know what the other person's doing in that file. So my recommendation would be to not have people working on the same file at the same time. But if, you know, if a job has been assigned to two people and you know, the guys in the field can decide which job they want to work on, or they can download and work on that job, they can work that way. I think that's most of it. So one of the other questions was around, this is a good one as well, around running mixed crews and the fact that the TSC7 can run 2017 or 2018, but the TSC3 can only run 2017.20 versions. So, you know, are people going to be forced to stick to 2017 on TSC7s just so that all their guys out in the field are running the same version. So it really depends on your company practices and what your processes are. So my recommendation would be, pick one of your crews and get them to have a bit of a play with 2018, see what they think, let them evaluate it, and then look at how the differences in 2018 impact on perhaps on the processes you use in your organization for, sharing data and working. And it might be that there is very little impact. It really depends on how you guys work. So some companies might say it's a real problem having mixed crews, and some other companies may say it's no problem whatsoever, and we're going to start using 2018 and we'll work to migrate our TSC3s and upgrade over time. So it really depends on how your organisation works. And my advice would be to, just evaluate it for yourselves and see how it looks. I think that sort of covers most of the main questions that come up, but I have answered most of the other ones, and we will look to share some of these questions to those that haven't been answered, so we'll get some answers back to you. And I think that covers it for now. So thank you everyone for attending. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you're excited by the new version, because we certainly are, and we look forward to getting it released to you soon and having you all using it. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye. There's a few questions at the end we didn't get to.